Writing equations using point-slope form. Now, point-slope is an alternative to slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Instead, point-slope is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, where once again m is the slope, but the y's that have the little ones next to them, those represent a point, and they're the ones that you plug in the numbers for. So how this looks is first, I'll write down the formula in my example. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This will help me memorize the formula. Now my m will go in as 4 over 3. And my points will go in after the minus sign in the x and after the minus sign in the y. So the first one is x1, the second one is y1. So I'm going to put a 5 behind the y and a 3 behind the minus x. Now this is in point-slope form. Now we'll leave it that way until we go over the next two problems. So again, in this example, all we're looking at is placing the numbers in their correct location. So if you think you know where the three numbers go, you should put them in now. Now my slope is -6, so that goes where the m is. -2 is x1, and 1 goes in for y1. So I'll put a 1 behind the y, and I'll put a -2 behind the minus x. Now when you already have a minus sign, that makes it +2. And that's how you substitute a point and a slope into the point-slope equation. Now let's look at what do we do after we plug it in. In example 2, we're going to change the answer into slope-intercept form. So once again, if you notice, it's already been plugged in. So now I need to get it into y equals mx plus b form. So to do that, I'm first going to do distributive property. So I'm going to multiply the slope times x, which is -2/3 x, and then I'm going to multiply -2/3 times -5. And if you're using a calculator, or if not, just do -2 and -5, it's +10 over the denominator, which is 3. Over here on the left side, we still have a remaining y plus 1. Now to get this into slope-intercept form, it's that y that needs to move so that I can get b. So I'll add 1 to both sides. Now if you're using a calculator, adding 1 is not a big deal. Otherwise, you know that 1 changed to a common denominator would be 3 over 3. So if I add 3 over 3 to 10 over 3, I'll end up with 13 over 3. And then my slope comes down, -2/3 x. And then the y equals on the other side is now there. Now the problem's been changed to slope-intercept form. So what I did was I used distributive property and then added or subtracted the number after the y. So let's look at the second one. Distribute the 4 over 3. So I'll get 4 over 3x. This time when I distribute 4 over 3 times 3, I'll end up with a whole number. So I have 4. Bring down your y minus 5. And remember, to get rid of the number after the y, you'll end up with your y-intercept. So I'm going to add 5. So I only have y on the left. My 4 over 3x comes down, and negative 4 plus 5 is positive 1, and that's my y-intercept. So again, to write an equation in slope-intercept form, do distributive property, and then add or subtract that one number. All right, and the last one, we're going to look at writing the equation then in standard form. So I'm going to start this out the exact same way as I did my last one. I'm going to do distributive property to get rid of the parentheses, because there's not going to be a parentheses in my standard form. So negative 2 over 3 times x is negative 2 over 3x. Negative 2 over 3 times negative 6 will be positive 12 over 3, which is 4. I'm going to bring down my y minus 4, and just like before, I'm going to add 4 to the other side. When I do this, it will give me y equals negative 3 over 2x plus 8. Now this is only slope-intercept form. I need to put this in standard. So now I will continue on by moving my x to the other side, and when the 2/3 comes over, it becomes positive 2/3 x plus y equals 8. And as one final step, you know that you're not allowed to have fractions in standard form. So I'm going to multiply by the denominator, in this case, which is 3. Move that over a little bit. So I multiply by 3, cancels out that 3, and I then get 2x, distribute the 3, 3y, and then 3 times 8, which is 24. Now the equation is in standard form. The x is first, the y is second, no fractions and decimals, and the first number is positive. And finally, let's look at the last one. Pause here if you want to attempt this one on your own. 4 over 3 times x is 4 over 3x, and then 4 over 3 times negative 2 is negative 8 over 3. Bring down your y minus 2. Add the 2 to the other side to put it in slope-intercept form. So y equals 4 over 3x. And then don't forget to add 2. Common denominator would make that 6 over 3. So negative 8 plus 6 is negative 2 over 3. Time to move that x to the other side. This time it makes it negative 4 over 3x. Now remember, you're not allowed to have a negative, and I forgot to write it, in front to start. So you can either change everything now, or while you multiply by a negative 3. This would cancel out the 3 and the negative sign, giving you a 4x in the front. This saves a step, and then multiply by negative 3 times y is negative 3y, and then negative 3 times negative 2/3 will result in positive 6 on the top, divided by 3 is 2. You notice that gets rid of the fraction over there at the same time. And this one is now in standard form. So this is how you write equations using slope-intercept form, or point-slope form.